So I was not cool in high school. No, you have to believe me, I was a total nerd. Please take my word for this. I was incredibly awkward in both personality and appearance, I swear. And on top of that, I was fighting a tough personal battle. Long story short, I am prone to serious physical injury, and my high school experience was accompanied by significant amounts of physical pain and health problems, and as a result, embarrassment and shame. One day, one of my friends called me up. We didn't really text or have Snapchat back then. She called me. So I had been on crutches because of a knee injury that had happened 2 months before then. For the injury I had sustained, it was an unusually long time to be using crutches. Anyway, she called me to discuss a disagreement we had had, and in a flurry of angry comments, she accused me of faking my injury to get attention, and that everyone else also thought the same thing. She had no idea about my underlying condition that had prolonged my recovery. She struck me in the very spot in which I felt most vulnerable and most ashamed. I was absolutely devastated, deeply hurt. I felt very alone and very angry. And perhaps most of all, I felt totally powerless and totally hopeless, which are the two themes I'm going to discuss with you all today. Powerlessness and empowerment, hopelessness and hope. So this is just one of my stories of an experience of powerlessness that I have felt. And this is not the only time that I've had something like this happen. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that I'm not the only one who has had one of these moments. Honestly, I think one of the best kept secrets that we have, something that is very true but rarely talked about, is that we all hurt. Although it feels very vulnerable to admit, every single person in this gym has had moments of pain. The person to your left, the person to your right. Maybe we felt hurt by a Snapchat or left out of a group text or missing from an Instagram story. And some of us have probably experienced much deeper hurts as well. We have all felt moments of despair, moments of loneliness, moments of fear, powerlessness, and maybe even hopelessness. We've all felt this in our personal lives, and maybe some of us have also felt this when we face the reality of injustice against women. So in these moments of hurt, powerlessness, and despair, many of us may ask ourselves, where is our power? Where is our hope? And it seems like there are two primary answers to those questions, and those answers come from different places. So let's talk about the first place. This answer is the one that's given to us by much of our culture, including social media, reality TV, commercials, magazines, etc. To the questions, where is our power, where is our hope, our culture tends to give answers like get more money, buy more clothes, make a cute boomerang. In our society, women especially are told to grab power through physical appearance. Our Instagram feeds are filled with ad after ad showing the latest styles. Our Snapchat stories are all about the hottest makeup tricks and how to shape your body so that it looks a certain way. Perhaps the even more dangerous message that we hear from parts of our society, including a lot of songs and TV shows, is that the way for women to find power and empowerment, the way to hope, is by bringing others down, and in particular, bringing other women down. The other night, I was watching the Great British Baking Show with my roommates, and it's a good show. We noticed something really strange. The contestants genuinely seemed to support one another. They were not pitted against one another like they are often in our American reality TV shows. In most of our shows, let's be honest, the most exciting drama that happens is usually from girl fights, right? Yeah. So, and you know what, I have to admit, I get it. Sometimes I understand. When we hurt, or when we feel pain, or loneliness, or insecurity, sometimes our natural reaction is to close up, harden, and put on a mask. Don't let others see our true selves. Sometimes when we hurt, we want others to hurt with us. Maybe sometimes we want to knock them down in order to make ourselves feel taller. So all of this comes together to form the first way to respond when we feel pain, despair, powerlessness, fear, and maybe hopelessness. We are told, buy more things, make yourself look like the people in the commercials, and compete with other women. But the reality is that these ways of seeking power are nothing more than distractions. They are lies, because they don't really truly bring empowerment. They take away our energy, time, and passion from the much bigger enemy, division and lack of equality. And they take us away from the true, more authentic path to power, which brings me to the second way to respond to powerlessness and hopelessness and fear. And this way is about hope. Hope is a nice, cute word that we hear pretty often. I hope we get another snow day soon, which I do. Or I hope that test isn't too hard. But the true meaning of hope is much more profound. Hope is that thing that allows us to keep moving forward with our actions, even in the face of injustice, hatred, hurt, or fear. It is very important to admit, hope is hard. Hope is hard. And we as women have plenty of reasons not to hope. All over the world, women continue to get paid less than men for the same work when they are just as intelligent and just as qualified. Women in some countries are not able to receive an education because of their gender. And as we all know from the Me Too movement, all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. Part of celebrating and finding hope on International Women's Day is acknowledging the reality of our situation, of the situation of women, and specifically for all of us here at this high school, acknowledging the reality of teenage girls. I would make the argument that teenage girls are one of the most widely discredited groups in our society. People write off teenage girls. When I tell people that I teach at an all-girls Catholic high school, I'm sorry to tell you this, ladies, but the most common reaction I get is like, yikes, or ooh, teenage girls, or something like that sounds horrible. Their reactions are often full of sympathy, as if I was working in some kind of battle arena. I don't get it. Unfortunately, teenage girls are often viewed as one of the least powerful and least sensible groups in our society. So as you all know, I'm a theology teacher, so you all know I'm going to have to bring some theology into this. Now, unfortunately, the roles of women in the history of the Catholic Church have not been a large part of the theological conversation, but that does not mean that they have not been there. Allow me to share with you one of the most forgotten about facts in the history of the Catholic Church, in the history of Christianity. Mary, Jesus' mom, was around your age when she found out she was having a baby, 14-ish. Just take a second to imagine her situation. Put yourself in her shoes. Imagine the judgment, the gossip, the isolation, the fear. It would have been absolutely terrifying, and frankly, I think kind of terrible. She probably felt the despair, loneliness, powerlessness, and fear that we've been talking about. And it seems she had little reason to hope. But against all of the odds, she did. She chose to hope, and Mary gave birth to God. Now let's think about what God was doing here. God was about to begin what is arguably the most important event in our entire history, sending God's child to be with and redeem humanity. Now think about this. God intentionally chose to put the most important task in all of human history, the most important task for any human in the history of the world, in the hands of a teenage girl. Our entire salvation history depended on the bold and brave hopefulness of a teenage girl. Now, it is important to add that hope for women cannot be the same thing as naive optimism. It's not the same thing as just wishing for good things to happen. It's not just an idea. Hope is in action. Hope is not just something we start feeling out of nowhere. It happens because it's something we work to create. Hope is believing that things will get better for women, that there will be justice, equality, and community, and it's taking steps to make this happen. It's believing and acting. It requires concrete actions of mercy, healing, care, and love in our day-to-day lives. When you choose to smile at the person you've never talked to before, you create hope. When you choose to forgive the girl who hurt you, you create hope. When you choose to see that your enemy is going through some really tough personal hardships, you create hope. When you choose to offer comfort to the girl you see struggling, you create hope. And when you choose to stand up for the girl who is being teased, you create hope. So the way of hope is lifting one another up. And because we're all connected, when we lift others, we also lift ourselves. I truly believe that the most powerful force in the entire world is relationship. All kinds of relationships, and especially friendships. Think about it. Even God's very self is relationship. Trinity. Father, Son, Spirit. Not even God can exist without the support of another being. So how do we claim the power that is ours in society? Today, on International Women's Day, the answer is building one another up. The answer is sisterhood. The most powerful force in the world can be found in the hand you reach out to other women, to your sisters. Our sisters are close to us, maybe sitting next to us in our small groups, and our sisters are far from us in Indiana, Colorado, California, in El Salvador, China, Ethiopia. We need one another. We cannot afford to be distracted by competition and by tearing others down. Our mission is too important. So International Women's Day is really about a revolution of hope. It's about recognizing the reality of our disempowerment, recognizing that we all have felt hurt, pain, and fear, and recognizing that so many women around the world share these feelings as they battle against terrible injustice. But it's choosing not to respond with cruelty or hurting others. It's seeing that other women are not our competition. Rather, it's choosing to find power in our togetherness, in our sisterhood. Choosing to reach out our hands to one another and step into hopeful action. This is where our power lies. This is our hope. Thank you.